as much as possible.
Cool. All right. Howdy, folks. Welcome back to another episode of ILBATDs podcast. We have our special guest this week from out of town, or I guess out of town for me, in town for partially for Colin. Alex, aka Prove Me Wrong, and Eric, aka You Hate to CTE It. Welcome to the show, guys.
Guys. Good to finally make it on the podcast. I've had a few issues that have kept me off here in the past, scheduling issues, but here now.
Alex's PR manager has kept him off the podcast for reasons that which he would viscerally attack us if we talked about his team in front of him.
Yeah, if an advertisement comes up, it's just part of the contract I signed, guys. Apologize.
Cool. Well, I'm going to share. We can get into 2 weeks ago's games and get into last week's games. All right. Top game. I can get started. It's me versus Johnny. I think this was 2 weeks ago. I eked one out. I don't believe I scored above the median though.
No, it was 102.
This game. It was 102, right? So yeah, that's right. I scored just below the median. So this is a 101 week for me. This is a big game for me because at the time, it still is, Johnny was a bubble team. I'm still a bubble team. So I'm kind of fighting for my life here. I'll take any head-to-head win as I can get it. This is also a week where I didn't have Jalen Hurts. So I needed my other folks to kind of step up a little bit. Kittle started to go off. Geno Smith kind of held his own, I guess, considering that Tannehill only scored less than 4. AJ Dillon does what he's been doing all year, which is disappointing me in every possible way.
Absolutely.
Jacoby kind of stepped up a little bit with a tutty on Monday Night Football. And the Cardinals gave me 2 touchdowns, which ended up needing, because if they didn't do that, then they would have gotten negative. So it was really a team effort by everybody here. I only ended up winning by 7. So every point kind of mattered there.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a battle between you and Johnny, I think. That's just kind of a consistent storyline between this matchup specifically. But yeah, kind of a mid-game, especially when both teams are under the median. It's kind of who can eke one out. And, both teams are 8-8 at this point. So these are the kind of wins you need at this stage of the season. Yeah.
And Johnny, he's deep at receiver, right? So he got Waddle Hopkins. They kind of pulled him through. At least the flex spot starters didn't do too much for him. And let's just take a look at the benches here. Yeah, I had a couple of waiver wire ads / free agents that I've added over the course of a couple of weeks that kind of went off for me. And he had a couple running backs who could have, put up 10 points, and James Robinson with a goose egg. I was nervous about this game. I had this one circled over the past couple of weeks. I knew this was going to be a bubble game. So glad to get the W here. And I was scoreboard watching Johnny's game this past week too. Any other thoughts about this game?
No, I mean, you go down both of your rosters and you both had solid performers. It's the guys you generally depend on, McCaffrey not performing as well as you would expect him to, for Johnny. But everyone else is kind of got numbers similarly that they have been.
Yeah.
Kittle was a huge piece for you, obviously.
Yep.
In week 7. As it's been discussed in the podcast, tight ends just being more dominant receivers. Not that I would know anything about power tight ends. It's not a great draft strategy, but this week definitely helped you out. Cardinals D, like you said, stepping up huge. Not expecting them to usually put up anything more than 1 or 2 points on defense.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the next one here. It was Eric's game versus Troy, a high-scoring affair. Eric, you want to dive into the nitty-gritty of this one?
Yeah. tough loss for me. Obviously, I'm coming in a tough 2 weeks here, losing to Troy and then Josh. I mean, both games I felt like I put up a pretty good amount of points. Going through this, obviously Fournette super bad. That Buccaneers offense just doing nothing sometimes. And then Sutton, same struggle there. So really those two guys are kind of what's been holding my team down. Honestly, it's those two offenses that we thought were going to be really good and explosive and just, have been terrible. Troy just put up a ton of numbers on me and is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, when you get 107 points from your first four guys between Burrow, Chubb, Eno Benjamin, and Chase,
yeah,
it's gonna win you game. Like your top four guys right there are scoring you 100 points. That's hard to lose with that kind of scoring. So not much you can do, but Troy's has one of the best teams in the league. So it's gonna be a battle, and you gotta throw up some points and do everything you can. You gotta get all your best players in, and just wasn't enough.
Yeah. What did Burrow go? Like 40 points, and then this week went, I don't know what he got, maybe 15.
Yeah, he had 39 last week and then 13 this past week.
Yeah.
Yeah. That stack is lethal. I mean, we knew that was going to be his play all year. And this is one of the weeks where they just decided to go off, and it doesn't really matter who's in your way when you're scoring 150 points in a week.
Yeah.
Live and die by the stack.
This is also the emergence of Kenneth Walker coming RB1 in Seattle. He's going to be, that was probably one of the better free agent ads / waiver ad draft, not even free agent.
Yeah, I was going to say I drafted him and just stashed him. And yeah, that's going to be really important for me down the road here.
What was the thought process there? Did you add him thinking like, hey, Penny's kind of injury prone?
Yeah, for sure, injury prone, and obviously we knew Kenneth Walker's a super talent. He's supposed to be the future of the franchise. I just thought, given the opportunity, he's going to go off. And Penny, I hate to see it, but he goes down a lot.
Yeah, that's why you're a top manager in this league, man. You get paid to make those kind of decisions in the draft.
Sure.
Moving on. Next one we got Colin and Josh. What do you think of this one, Colin?
Yeah, I mean, there isn't much I can do. I'm playing Daniel Jones as my quarterback, and he's my high point man. That's as pathetic as it gets. Josh Jacobs did all his heavy lifting. 35 points from one guy will win you a game against me. So, that's kind of how it's going. That's what happens when you got, good running backs that don't get injured too. Is they can put up numbers. Their low weeks are good, and Derrick Henry is a low game with 15 points. So it's just a tough look. It's almost an easy dub for everybody as you go through when you're playing me.
And to be fair, Josh is no easy foe. He's currently a top 3 team in the league right now. He's definitely on a bit of a hot streak. So don't really want to be facing him in the coming weeks. But when you can stream a quarterback and drop 30, I mean, that's all you can really ask from that acquisition.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Josh's team over the course of this season, and there are only 2 weeks where he has scored under 114 points. I mean, you better hope that your team's coming to play. 114 points in a week is usually good for a win.
Yeah, I really like Josh's team. I think he might have got off to a slow start. I'm not sure, probably because of Derrick Henry. He had those first couple weeks where he didn't do anything, but since then, Henry has just been unbelievable. And I'm a huge Derrick Henry fan. I have him in like my dynasty and all that. He's like a league winning guy. So Josh's team is really set if that continues.
All right. Next, we had the battle for Chicago with Alex and Nick. What happened here, Alex? Looks like it was kind of a close game. kind of close to the median as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things week in, week out. Every time I put Melvin Gordon in the lineup, I seem to lose. So he is basically coming out of every lineup I have. Truthfully, I wasn't too upset. Kareem Hunt, 7 points. Expect a little bit more than that, but he's done it in a bunch of games. I can't be too upset with how my team performed. I had a note down here that I got taken down by the E's. Elliott and Eckler, just them together, it's almost 50 points. It's tough to go up against that if you don't have any people on your team performing like that. So I'd say Nick has definitely won the Windy City. He can keep that.
My biggest thing there was like you got some points on your bench too with DJ Moore and Mecole Hardman. I'm not sure you would have ever started Mecole Hardman with his season, but like a lot of points on the bench there that could have won you the game, and just one of those observations that caught my eye.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say management decisions, it's week in, week out. You don't, in no world would I have been starting Hardman over a bunch of people I had in. Right. Wrong decision that week. Richie James still proven to be a great waiver pick for me.
I mean, if you go down the line here, it looks like, everybody performed generally in the range of their projections, right? I mean, a couple, Mark Cooper down 1.5, basically, Kyler down 3, but like for the most part, everybody's kind of close. And it looks like for him, it was just the other way around, right? Where people are kind of just overperforming their projection, with the exception of Eckler, who just went off. And that was kind of the story, right? You just lost by 13. That could have been, one touchdown swing, and that's a much closer game. So looks like it was just kind of the, you both kind of performed that projection, and he just went a little bit above and you went a little bit below.
Yeah.
Next, my dad versus Jason, another low scoring affair. Neither one got above the median in this game.
This is the closest game of the week too, I think.
And I think this was the game that Breece Hall went out, right? This is the game that he went down for the season. This is kind of the start of the scramble for my dad for a running back. Colin, you want to dive into this one first?
Well, I just have when you have two guys that score 0, when you have 2 goose eggs on a team, it's like impossible to win. And Jason had that. So even in a low scoring affair, those double zeros knock you out.
Yeah.
Got Khalil Herbert on the bench, George Pickens on the bench. Anything different, he wins this game.
Mm-hmm.
But those double goose eggs really take you out of it right off the bat.
Yeah. Especially when you got your kicker and your defense both scoring, getting you about 30 points, right? And then there's only 90 points for both teams. So
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
It was great management from that perspective, extreme in a defense or a kicker, but everything else was just pretty much underperformance.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other thoughts on this one?
Jason's had a pretty rough go this season.
Yeah.
Not to jump too much into future, the next week 8, but I'm looking at Jason's lineup, and it's looking very similar to Colin's team about 2 weeks ago. A lot of red with outs and IRs, and
yeah.
It's a tough pill to swallow when that starts happening to your team, and you just got to ride out the storm and hope you can make a couple good waiver picks, and hopefully someone's willing to trade for a piece that you have that might benefit them a little bit in the short term but helps you long term. I think Jason's operation make moves at this point.
Yeah.
He's got to make them happen.
Yeah. He's the guy who starts out with a specific strategy, and you got to be flexible if the league starts, if your team starts turning south. So I totally agree. Yeah. And the last one, pretty high profile matchup. This week, if I recall, was 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. I think this was the 1v4 matchup. Rob versus Willie. Let's take a look here. Willie got the much needed victory. Rob lost to the median, got 2 losses this week. Ramondre going off. This is also the emergence of Travis Etienne. And then Tyler Boyd. I mean, Willie made a couple of good, management decisions by putting Boyd in the flex. And I think that's really what did it for him. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, this is the battle of Rob and his best man. So that was kind of huge. Also, they had nothing on their bench. So they kind of played what they had. They did everything they could. They didn't have much choice of the matter. But yeah, I think this is just kind of showing that Willie's team is, I couldn't have been more wrong about it. Like, he's just got guys, He's just got guys. He's got guys that can ball. And that's what it comes down to. Tyreek Hill, Ramondre Stevenson. It's unbelievable how good his team has turned out to be.
Yeah, that early Tyreek Hill pick looks really good right now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
I also believe, I may be mistaken, but I believe that week Willie was given manager of the week, as you had said. There's really nothing he would have put into play.
Right.
It's pretty hard to beat someone when they make all the right decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a tough week for teams on bye. You got the Bills, the Vikings, the Rams, and the Eagles. Some of the higher profile fantasy teams.
Sure.
So, and Rob, I mean, you look at Rob's whole bench and Willie's whole bench is pretty much on bye, right? So
that's what I'm saying. The bench is cleared in this game.
Right. So, there's a strategy at the draft where you can, or picking up anybody for that matter, where, you try to either stack. I've seen folks stack the bye weeks, or like, all right, I'm just going to take an L this week. Or just kind of varied amongst the rest of the weeks, but looks like both of them kind of had a stack here.
Yeah.
Get a W on a stack week. That's a big move for your record.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Do you want to move on to next week's games? Week 8.
Yeah, let's do it. The highest median yet, right? So 125.
125.
This is where we saw our damn fireworks, huh?
So I'll go into my game first. This is another bubble game. So I had Johnny last week, Nick this week. We're still both very much in the thick of it with seeds 10, 8, and 10, 9, and 7, I think, right now as it currently stands. Jalen Hurts helps me out a lot. Kittle scoring, and then this was by far my play of the week. Nick Folk streaming. I think I streamed him this week. Picked him up against the Jets. That was huge for me.
Yeah, your kicker defense won you the game. Both teams played very well, pretty solid across the board. And then your kicker defense was really the difference maker.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know if Nick would have made any changes on his bench. I see Ezekiel Elliott or Antonio Gibson kind of balled out, but I don't know if he would have swapped him out, maybe for Isaiah McKenzie potentially.
Yeah.
But he's looking like he's getting more involved in the offense. So yeah. All right, we'll move on to the next one. Eric and Josh, another high profile game.
Yeah, another tough loss for me. I mean, scoring points, just not enough. Lost to the median by 0.06, something like that. So that's great. It's a tough stretch for me.
That's brutal.
Yeah, my team didn't do that. I mean, it did good. Yeah, put up numbers. I mean, this was a solid week. Besides Cortland Sutton, if you scroll down there, he's the one, guy that's just really struggling right now. But yeah, kind of chimed in earlier with my comments on Josh's team. It was just fresh on my mind. Obviously, this was the Derrick Henry game. Not even just Derrick Henry. There were like 3 other running backs that put up close to 40 this week. So that's why the median was that high, just to finally like a really high scoring week across the board in fantasy. But yeah, Henry crushed me. He went off and just put Josh over the edge there.
Yeah, he's the difference maker. Everybody was pretty much above average across the board, hence
Right.
4. But then Derrick Henry just is another. He's just doing Derrick Henry things at this point. We're midway through the season, so every week he's getting stronger.
Yep.
Even the QB flyer you had with Justin Fields kind of paid off a little bit, probably higher than you expected too. So it's just one of those.
Yeah,
Really
my pick on Andy Dalton and checking him out for Fields a minute later paid off. It took me a whole minute to think about that. I was like, you know what? No, Fields is a way better play. Bears are getting it together. Obviously, that trade we're going to get in trades later, but they got Claypool now, and I'm probably going to hang on Fields the rest of the season. He's a good QB. You know, maybe even play him over Herbert in matchup dependent games. So we'll see.
It'll be scary to see what Fields does when he starts actually depending on throwing the football. I don't think that's coming for a while, but
Yeah.
Claypool definitely helps out with that.
Next, we had the number 1 team in the league right now playing Colin. Colin and Willie were together this past weekend. So they were able to watch this game live unfold. What are your thoughts on here, Colin?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I had one guy. That's it. Everyone else is shit. Below 10. I literally had maybe DeAndre Swift got me 11. Other than that, everything is below 10. And then I got A.G. Brown give me 36 for a total of 101, and he scores 150. I mean, yeah, I was just saying how Willie's got some guys, and they all showed up. You know, Josh Allen, the number 1 quarterback in the league. You got Tony Pollard getting the whole backfield to himself. Tyreek Hill getting all the yardage in the whole world. He ran around the earth maybe twice in that game. And then he's got a negative kicker, negative defense, and I'm still losing. So what do you want from me?
Yeah, it's hard when, like, you know, you're the star player you weren't really planning on popping off, like Tony Pollard and Tyreek, you know, kind of just goes scorched earth on everybody. And Kyle Pitts scores, you know, everyone's doing well in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me one sec. Go ahead.
Any other thoughts on this game?
Pollard's could be a problem, you know, obviously depending on what happens with Zeke, but if he ends up missing more time, I mean, this team's looking really good with Tony Pollard in that backfield if Zeke's not there. So it's dependent on that, but if that's the case, then this team, you know, could be really tough to beat in the playoffs.
That's the last thing you want to hear is the number 1 team in the league just getting stronger every week.
More fuel, you know.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for us, Jerry Jones loves Elliott. I don't think that's going to happen, you know, barring injuries.
Yeah. They'll both eat.
You guys on his squad are, you know, just like Pollard, as you just mentioned, they're ready to pop off based on whatever the rest of that team's roster is doing. There's a lot of guys here that, you know, split time with people, and a lot of their counterparts are injury prone. I could see Willie putting up numbers like this for basically the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Not someone I want to face on a regular basis. That's for sure.
Good news. You face him next week.
I'm aware. I'm already prepared. Richie James, baby.
There we go. It's going to pay off right now. Alf, let's run through this week with you and Jason here. Got the best of Jason, who continues to move in the wrong direction. I think he's 0-4 over the last 2 weeks. What happened here?
Yeah, you know, he had a rough go. You know, the Carr Adams duo that, you know, depending on the week, could be a great move. This week ended up killing him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, get a total between 2 guys you really rely on that are under a total of 3 points. You know, it's hard to swallow that pill. I mean, even with Kamara going off, my team this week was solid. You know, I was a little worried about having to bench Kelsey, but got away with it. I'm going to basically leave it at that. I got away with one this week because there was a lot of high scoring.
Yeah,
I could have easily.
I was gonna say it's a similar story to my game. Jason had one guy go off, and that was Alvin Kamara for almost 40. Other than Khalil Herbert, which is solid 15, but like everyone else, and then Devontae Adams with a 0.7. Did he get hurt or something? Did he get hurt? Because like that makes no sense.
He played with
No
like
injury.
a flu, I think.
He played with a flu. Okay,
He was sick, but obviously the Raiders just got dominated.
yeah, but that's unbelievable.
It was more. Carr had almost no time to get rid of the football. The
Yeah.
entire game. It was a pretty gross game to watch.
Yeah, live by the stack, die by the stack. And unfortunately, this weekend,
Once again,
Jason died by the stack.
yeah.
Let me see. Next on my list, my dad and Troy uncharacteristically dropping under 100 points. This might be one of the first weeks this year where he's dropped under 100.
I was gonna say it's basically Troy being mediocre, and his mediocre is still close to 100. Like that's his worst game. That's got to be his worst game, and it's still 98 points. That's crazy.
He dropped 86 week 5, but other than that, everything else has been
Okay.
over 100.
So.
Yeah, and this one, I think on Monday night, my dad was the guy who might have put Eric under the median. Was that this week? Or no, sorry, actually, no, that wasn't the case. But never mind, I'm getting my weeks confused. But my dad, I think, barely squeaked by with the median this week.
Right, we're like a point different.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Going with the Evan Ingram starting in the flex. I don't know if I would have made that managerial decision, but looks like he didn't have too many other options on his bench either. I guess now that DK is back, he might be slotted back into the flex, but yeah, it's nice to see some of the hot teams come back down to earth every once in a while. And then last, this is the highest scoring game of the week. Johnny 3 pacing with almost 170. What are you guys' thoughts on this game? Rob, another tough head-to-head loss.
I mean, it just Johnny's team being dominant. It's happened quite a few weeks.
Yeah.
He's got some weapons on his team that seem to like to drop over 20 points on a regular basis. I put him right up there with Willie with, you don't know what you're going to get week in and week out, but you don't really want to go up against him.
Yeah, 3 guys over 25 plus points. That's you don't lose that. McCaffrey on a new team, of course, he was going to get all the volume in the world. Jalen Waddle's getting all the touchdowns in Miami when Tyreek's getting all the yardage. And then DeAndre Hopkins, he ain't washed apparently because he's still nasty.
Hey guys, heads up. I think I'm only able to record for 40 minutes, so we might have to make this in 2 parts. It might end in like the next minute or so. So if we just want to like hop back into this room afterward and do the rest of it, just as a heads up.
Yeah.
That's probably gonna happen. And then, yeah.
Did I drop, by the way? Did I drop and come back?
Momentarily, you dropped the video.
Yeah. All right.
I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna end it, and then we can hop back into this, I guess,